For money. Time to rethink Christmas. Time to rethink Christmas. For money. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm one of those people who don't get too excited about Christmas. I'm also one of those people who, on grand final day, turn the TV on at 2:30 because I don't like all the fuss, all the pre-game entertainment, that type of thing. And I feel much the same way about Christmas because I think it's just so much fuss over one day of the year. We start hearing about it 2 months before. People run around madly shopping, food, presents, it's never ending. So I just like to have a no-fuss day related to that. And I'm very fortunate because we don't have to run around from house to house. We have a Christmas at home generally. My wife and my parents are passed on, and all our siblings are a fair way away. So it's a good opportunity to have a day at home. And I'd like you to think about how you could relax more at Christmas. And I think one way to do that is to have some really good humour on the day. And we had 2 Christmases in a row where some of the presents were DVDs of programs I'd never heard of, and also a book I'd never heard of. And this really showed me how your children can educate you about things which you really enjoy. So I just wanted to share a bit of that with you tonight to give you a different look at Christmas. You might do the similar thing, or you might be running around from house to house and madly shopping and doing all those things beforehand. I've got to admit, I am lucky. My wife buys all the presents and I only have to think about her. And she loves to cook and prepares pretty much everything on the day, so I'm pretty lucky in that way. Now, some of these presents that we had involved some characters on Australian TV. And one you might recognise, it probably looks a little bit like Santa Claus too. Does everybody recognise this guy? Yeah, have I got a take that for his name? Russell Coy, very well done. You could have said Glenn Roberts, I'm glad you said Russell Coy, because he is Russell Coy. Is there anyone who's not familiar with Russell Coy? Okay, you've missed out big time. I've got to educate you guys. The Leyland Brothers? Does everybody know the Leyland Brothers? Okay. Because the Leyland Brothers were sort of legendary outback heroes on adventures. On a Saturday afternoon, you'd sit down and you'd watch the Leyland Brothers as they take Land Rovers out into the outback and they find a big bog hole and get bogged, and then they have to find ways to recover and get out. Russell Coy does that type of thing. But Russell Coy does it in a very, very funny way. And I'd like to give you a couple of quotes, or a few quotes in fact from Russell Coy. Some words of wisdom I'd like to think of them as. And just remember, this is about Christmas. You might like to buy a Russell Coy video or DVD for Christmas. I have no shares in Russell Coy or anything like that. But just think about it. Russell Coy, some pearls of wisdom. Some city folk come to the outback and don't know what to do in a survival situation and pay the ultimate price. Some even die. He's a brilliant man. Another one. Today we're going to explore some flora and fauna, and if we're lucky, we might see some plants and animals too. And the third one for now, I know you want some more. This is the Mitchell Track, named after the person who first opened up this area. Mitchell Track. Great person, Mitchell Track. Now, that was the year when we had the Russell Coy DVD. Now, there's nothing better than sitting down after lunch on Christmas Day and watching the whole series of DVD. This is a program you've never heard of, and all of a sudden you're watching the whole series of episodes. Another one, a year later, involved a man dressed, or in a person in this persona. Does anybody know the name of this man? Chris Lee. It is Chris Lee. Do you know the character? Q. Mr. Q. Mr. G. No. No. Not your name. Phil. Does Phil mean anything? This is Phil Olivetti. Does anybody know the series We Can Be Heroes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because Phil Olivetti was a contender on his own nomination. He sent in the nomination for Australia of the Year. He had been a policeman and rescued 9 school children who were playing in a jumping castle. When a violent storm came, he flew the jumping castle into the air and he got caught in some power lines. And Phil was the man who saved them. And he became quite famous and decided to give up the police force, and he tried to start a career as a motivational speaker. And he felt that he should be Australian of the Year, and he tried to get into the event at Parliament House in Canberra and speak to Kathy Freeman and others, and was quickly whisked away. So Phil's quite a character. Some others who appeared in that series, and remember, we're sitting there at Christmas. I'd never heard of Chris Lilly. And all of a sudden I'm seeing this series, which was absolutely amazing. He might be a man you love or hate. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And this series was nominated for some international awards and did very well in the BAFTA, the British awards as well. This was another of his characters in that series. Do you remember the name? Pat or Carrie? I don't know what she did. Pat Mullins. Pat Mullins. Pat Mullins was a housewife from Perth, and she was born with a slight deformity. One foot was shorter than the other, so she would wear one of those shoes with a very, very big sole and heel. I don't know how they did that in the show, but it was quite amazing. And she found over time that one way to, that's not very clear, is it? One way to get about the house was not to walk, but to roll. And she suddenly realised she was very good at rolling. And she decided she was going to break the world record for distance rolling. So she rolled from Perth to Fremantle in record time, mind you. By the way, do you know that there are a couple running around Australia at the moment, aged in their 60s, running a marathon that's 42 kilometres every single day. And they've now run over 330 marathons this year and will arrive in Melbourne on the 31st of December. Anyway, that's a little aside. Pat Mullins achieved similar feats, rolling all the way from Perth to Fremantle, and she was training for her big achievement, which was rolling from Perth to Uluru. And Pat, I need to quote a little song from Pat. Her husband was Terry. Very placid, gentle guy, Terry. Lovely man, lovely man. And this is pretty appropriate for Christmas, this little ditty that she wrote for Terry. Terry, Terry, you make me very merry. Even though you're very, very hairy. I'll always love you, my Terry. Isn't that nice? Isn't that moving? Do you feel moved? I think that's... I shed a tear when I heard that. So that's Pat. She's an amazing lady. She eventually became quite ill, but it was an amazing story. And the next one I'd like to feature is this man. This is Ricky Wong, a PhD physics student at Melbourne University, no less. A brilliant man, brilliant man. He achieved international fame for developments in solar technology, but his love was musical theatre. Against the wishes of his very strict parents. He's a Chinese lad, as you can tell from the photo, I'm sure. And he was auditioning for the part, the main character in the play A Didgeridoo, about the Aboriginals of Australia. So it was the Chinese theatre company at Melbourne University putting on a play about Australian Aboriginals. It's amazing stuff. So Ricky was a great person. The next character I'd like to feature is a man who is famous for his Warrick Todd cricket diaries and other books like Up in the Block Hole. This is he is an Australian cricket legend, Warrick Todd. Do you know Warrick Todd? An amazing man. He might look familiar, he might look like somebody else. But he has written some books about his days as a batsman in the Australian Test team, touring with the likes of Pigeon and Punter. He never uses the players' real names. Pigeon is Glenn McGrath and Punter was Ricky Ponting. And he was a bit of a lad, big drinker, a wild man really. Used to knock the stumps out of the ground with his bat occasionally and things like that. This is the sort of thing he would get up to. A quote from Warrick Todd. There's a lot more to sledging than just verbal abuse. I discovered in the 1993 tour that even the friendliest conversations could fire up Graham Booch. He's the former English cricket captain. All I had to do was say stuff like, "How are you going? Looks like being a good game." And he'd go right off his nut. Looking back at that incident, I'm surprised the switchboard at his motel ever put my phone in there. Seeing it was 3 in the morning. In reality, he's a very reasonable man. Now, I'll just finish up with some words about Warrick, because you might know his character in real life is a fellow named Tom Gleisner, who appeared on the Panel TV show, and is a member of the Working Dog crew, who make many shows, Rob Sitch and Santo and people like that. And does anybody know the link between Tom Gleisner and Russell Coy?
They work together at some point.
They do, definitely, they have done. Yes, Tom actually wrote the script for the Russell Coy series. Very bright guy, great humorist, but often plays a straight man, so great achievement. So, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I just hope that I might have inspired you to relax at Christmas time, really. That's what I'm saying. Just relax, take it easy, put the feet up. If you can get a spouse or partner or someone else to do all the cooking, and get somebody to buy some DVDs like that, you just relax, put your feet up, and enjoy the day. Just take time.